Just take it out.
We're pleased to welcome you to the 5th District Neighborhood Business Summit. My name is Bob Linscheid, and I'm President and CEO of the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce, and we're pleased to be involved with this summit along with Supervisor London Breed. First, I want to begin by thanking a few people for helping us plan this event, particularly Lauren Kahn from Supervisor Breed's office, and in particular from 1300 Fillmore, Stephanie Parker and Kyla Nagel for keeping this, organizing this event as well. So let's give them a big hand of thanks for helping. We, of course, couldn't do this without the support of 1300 on Fillmore, Minetta White, who's here, chamber member. Where are you, Minetta? Hello. It's good to see you. And, of course, Minetta is a member of the Small Business Commission here in San Francisco, and we're pleased to have her representation there. The Neighborhood Business Summit is a series of events that the Chamber of Commerce holds in partnership with members of the Board of Supervisors in various supervisorial districts. We hope this morning's event, we usually do these in the afternoon, but Supervisor Breed was very insistent on doing it in the morning when we wouldn't disrupt the activities that occurred here at 1300 after 5:30, so which we encourage you to experience. And so what I want to do now is introduce our supervisor, London Breed, to you. A lot of you know her. She was sworn in as 5th District Supervisor in January of 2013. So at the beginning of this year, she became our supervisor in this district. She's a graduate and a native of San Francisco, graduate of Galileo High School. She earned her bachelor's degree at UC Davis and her master's degree at the University of San Francisco. In 2002, she became the executive director of the African American Art and Culture Complex, and under her leadership, the complex's youth programs reached record participation. As a supervisor, we find Supervisor Breed to be very frank, honest, and direct, which is unusual in the world of politics at times. She serves on a number of committees and is a member of the Local Agency Formation Commission, LAFCO. So please join me in giving a warm morning welcome to our Supervisor, London Breed.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. And I just want to start by thanking Bob Linscheid and Jim Lazarus for just really opening up the door and saying, what can we do to support you and your efforts in your district? And I said, well, I want you to come to the Fillmore, and I want you to invest and to convince your businesses and folks that you know to be a part of this great community. We've, of course, had a lot of challenges over the years, but this is an amazing neighborhood filled with amazing people. And I know with some of you here today who have businesses along the Fillmore corridor, along with some of you who may not, that together we can partner to make some great things happen in the Fillmore. So I just want to start by thanking the Chamber, also thanking our sponsors today. Recology and PG&E stepped up and sponsored this event. And finally, actually Bob and I had dinner at 1300, and Monetta was like, yeah, you can do it here. So she's always there for the community, not just for the Chamber, but for Mo Magic and Collective Impact, and anything that we ask for in the community. Monetta's always been a rock star, so thank you for all of your support. And so District 5 is an amazing district, as you all know. And any of you who want to sit, there are seats, and you can just make your way, because we're going to have a bit of a presentation, of course, but more importantly, we want to hear from you, and we want to talk about some of the challenges that you face. Because for me, one of my priorities as supervisor, and I know I have a few priorities, but specifically jobs, housing, and small businesses especially. I want to see small businesses, not just in our district, thrive, but throughout our city, because small businesses employ significant numbers of people, which keep people employed in our city and keep people in housing in our city. And so it is important to me that your businesses grow, your businesses thrive, and it requires a working relationship. I know more recently, as I said, the Fillmore has had challenges, and Moneta has definitely taken the leadership to begin a merchants association for the Fillmore for the first time since I don't know when. And so I'm really excited about that. And so what happens when we make things happen in the community, it's about coming together, it's about working together. And I know some of you are extremely busy with their businesses, so sometimes you don't have time to branch out and work together and come to events and participate. But we want to do our part in the city in helping to facilitate that process so that you can. Recently, I was fortunate enough to serve on the budget committee this year, and we got a lot of support financially for this district for workforce development. And I know Durf Butler is here and Cheryl Davis is here from Collective Impact, and Durf is in charge of the Western Addition Access Point, which is pretty much our job one-stop center. I know that many of you who are a part of Fillmore are familiar with this one-stop job center, but let me tell you, this is not just a one-stop job center for the Western Addition. This is a one-stop job center for the city and county of San Francisco. My ultimate goal as supervisor is to make sure that these programs are adequately funded so that they are preparing tomorrow's workforce. So part of that involves working with some of your businesses, developing relationships with your businesses, because I know you want good people to work for you. I know you want them to be prepared. I know that you want them to show up on time. I mean, some of the basic things, some of the challenges that we face with getting young people ready for employment opportunities. These folks here, Cheryl Davis, if you could raise your hand, Durf Butler, Johnny Carter is actually the on-site director there at the access point right up the street. They are available to work with you to provide you with the kinds of employees that you're looking for. Now, some of you may pay fees for different entities to help you hire, but ultimately I will continue to work to make sure that we do everything that we can to fund them adequately so that they can prepare tomorrow's workforce. And this is a part of what I'm doing from a city side to help support small businesses in our city. This is going to be a relationship that I'm hoping that will grow into something significant and be a model for the entire city. So other than that, I am here to listen. I am here to talk to you about your concerns and what we can do to make changes in the Fillmore. One of the other things I should also mention, because I know that this is, Captain, I know public safety is a concern as it relates to some of the small businesses, and I know we have Captain McGuckrin here. He has a newsletter, he has tips, he works very well with the community, and his officers work well with the community. I know when we've had a few challenges with some of the events at Yoshi's, it takes one phone call to the captain to ask for some support with police officers, and they're right there. So I think developing a relationship with our local captains, both at Park Station, Richmond Station, Northern Station, could really help make the difference in the kind of support that you get from the department, especially when you're dealing with public safety issues. And finally, I just, again, want to thank everyone for being here. And this is really about trying to open the door for opportunities for you all to get to know one another. But more importantly, this is the start of what we need to do to begin to come together so that we can make sure that our small businesses are growing, that they're thriving, and that the city is not being a dictator but a partner in this effort to make sure that you are all successful, because that is exactly what I want to see happen for our great city. So again, thank you all so much for being here. I think I forgot something, yes. Any questions, of course, I'm going to take, but I wanted to just make a statement about formula retail, because one of the challenges that I've had is just my introduction of formula retail legislation. And I know it's been quite complicated because people believe, based on some of the restrictions that I'm trying to impose in legislation, that I'm opposed to formula retail. I'm not opposed to formula retail. there is a time and place for formula retail. And I think, for example, and I keep going back to the Fillmore, but this is an incredible destination. Tourists come here from all over the country, and they want to come to the Jazz District. They want to come to the Fillmore. And when they come to the Jazz District and the Fillmore, and I don't mean to offend some of our businesses, but we have businesses that are there that are anyplace else, and they're not necessarily jazz or music or arts specific. And they're like, okay, Popeyes and a couple of other businesses, and no offense, I was probably almost raised on Popeyes, but we made this place a destination, and now it's time for us to invest in changing it and making it the destination that everyone believes it to be. If we believe it, then we can make it happen. And yes, there is a time and a place for formula retail. And sometimes formula retail dominates a community so much that it can be problematic for other small businesses in terms of rents and other things. I'm not suggesting it's their fault, but my point is I want to make sure that we strike a balance. So I just wanted to be clear about that, and I have legislation pending. I'm still working out some of the kinks. There's a report that's going to be coming out regarding formula retail because the planning department is actually not clear as to where they got the 11 limitation from. But should that limit Pete's, which Pete's is originally a San Francisco coffee-based company, should that limit them from being a part of the city just because they have more than 11 locations? So there's really a balance here that we need to strike. So we're holding off on our formula retail legislation in order to get a better understanding for the numbers, a better understanding for why we're doing the things we're doing, so that we can strike a balance. I want businesses to want to come into a community and make a community into something great, but I want them to be partners and not just jump into a community and do whatever it is they want to do and not be a part of the fabric of the community. So that's most important to me, formula retail or not. So I'm here to work with all business because all business is good business as long as they're partnering with the community to make the community a better place. So again, thank you all so much for being here, and I guess I'm opening it up. Jim, am I introducing you or opening it up to comments or questions?
You may, I can help you with it, but you can open it up to questions and we'll let the audience participate.
Okay, so I see, and I just want to give you guys an idea of some of the people in the room because I know a lot of them. We have groups like Collective Impact, which is housed out of the Ellie Hill Hutch Community Center, and many of you know that there have been challenges with Ellie Hill Hutch Community Center, but I'm going to tell you, if you want to invest money, support, resources, Ellie Hill Hutch is alive, it's thriving, and there are tons of kids in there every single day doing some amazing things, and I couldn't be more happy to have Cheryl Davis at the head of that organization. So Collective Impact is in the house, and thank you all for being here. I know we have Brooklyn Circus in the house. Your Brooklyn Circus right up here with the best music anytime there's a festival going on. They always have the best music and the best parties. They're right up the street. We actually have my friend Debbie Meslow from the Gap. I shop at the Gap. Yes, I do. Michelle, I see you over there from Gussie's right across the street. We got Matt O'Grady from the Parks Alliance. We got Bicycle Bob, who deals with a lot of public safety issues in our district. I mean, don't be offended if I don't point you out, but my point is, Miss Betty, I see you over there from the community. We have, and she was one of those protesters of Popeyes years ago, I remember, to hold them accountable, and I appreciate her advocacy. So my point is, we have a lot of great people in the room where relationships can develop and we can really change the fabric of this neighborhood. Now, some of you come from other places besides the Fillmore, I know. I saw Steve Nakajo from Japantown that's here, but ultimately, we are all a part of trying to make San Francisco better for the people of San Francisco, and I just want us to continue to develop these relationships and move in a direction that can be a really positive direction. So this is the first step. This is not one event. This is not an event for show. This is an event to begin the process of developing this relationship so that I, as a supervisor, know the best legislation to introduce, the best way that I can help support your businesses grow and thrive. So with that, I'll open it up to comments and questions from folks.
You have a question, Mr. Rick?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Karen Quintino, and I've been a resident for 37 years. I live on Ellis between Scott and Divisadero. And one of my concerns, and it seems like a lot of this is focused on the Fillmore, but my major concern at this point, where I'm putting my efforts, is the trees on Divisadero. If anybody drives along Divisadero, it was so beautiful when it opened, when they finished the project. Now, many of the trees are dead, many are dying, and I've been in contact with DPW to see what's happening, and it is, there's no watering system on most of it. There's no sort of oversight on what's happening, and so I'm really concerned. So if anybody else is concerned, and I know that you mentioned, London, that when we get projects, if there's not follow-up, if it's not built in, it shouldn't be done. And obviously, nothing was done to follow up. And so if anybody else is concerned, I would love to have your name and telephone number and see if we can get something done so that we don't lose those trees, because I think we've lost a lot of them already. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make 2 quick points about that. Number one, of course, we'll put you in touch with the Divisadero Merchants Association there. Michael Krause is the president, and I'm not certain if they've actually brought this issue to our attention. But one of the things happening in the DPW program is they have apprenticeship programs for arborists. And we don't necessarily have enough arborists to take care of all of the trees in the city. And I know some of you who are property owners might have received bills once they come in and do work on your trees. It is clearly a challenge, and I know we plant a lot of trees, we require planting a lot of trees, but sometimes there's not the clear direction of who's responsible for them. So I think that we will have some additional arborists on the streets doing more work. It won't solve the problem, but that one in particular would mean that we would need to work together with the Merchants Association to come up with a plan to get it resolved, so I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
Next. Scared?
Supervisor and the Chamber, I just wanted to thank you for bringing everyone together today. I think these types of forums are just so valuable to have an opportunity to come together and talk about concerns in our city. And I know we're here talking about District 5, but Supervisor, tell me about the Jazz Center, and say like the Gap wanted to do some sort of like employee day. This is a destination. You know, we're just talking about this district has one of the best restaurants in the city, which I had never heard about, State Bird Provisions, I think, that I keep on hearing about lately, that I think is closed for renovations. But it is a destination. How do we get some of the larger businesses in the city really, involved in the district through their employees and otherwise?
I think part of what we had, fortunately, with a lot of the larger businesses is they utilize like 1300 or Yoshi's for events, for performances, but that's not consistent enough to develop a relationship. Looking at the properties, looking at how they can work and partner with an existing business on a consistent basis to develop a relationship. I mean, that enhances the revenues of that business. Committing to having or hosting a monthly meeting at 1300 or Gussie's or something of that nature where you're bringing business to the neighborhood, but more importantly, looking at the empty facades that exist and making a decision as to whether or not there's a good fit for your particular business along the Fillmore corridor. And then finally, implementing your own design guidelines that fit within the character of the neighborhood. I know that years ago, Redevelopment Agency did work around some design guidelines with the Fillmore Center. In some instances, those design guidelines were implemented, but in other cases they weren't. And I think a big part of what changes a community is what the facade of a building looks like. Even a company like the Gap, with its wealth, could invest in making a decision to say, hey, we support changing the entire character of the area, and we're going to support small businesses and change their facades and make them very arts or jazz focused, so that the character of what you see on the outside along the street corridor matches what this district is supposed to be. So that's how a lot of, I mean, I can keep going on and on and on, but investment, 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 support, 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 those are key to ensuring that this neighborhood grows and thrives. Yes, Miss Betty.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Betty, and I have a lot of, excuse me, I have a lot of concerns in the neighborhood. Number one, friendliness. Business come into our neighborhood and they're very rude to us. Very, very rude to us as being black people in this area. And that's something that needs to be addressed when you want to come into our community. And we're here, and we can say ours, whether it is or not, but we've been here for the longest. And when you come in here, you're rude, you're obnoxious, and that's not fair to any of us. Police, zero. I've been in the area for 36 years, and we've asked the same questions for 36 years, and we've gotten the same answer, zero.
So thank you, Ms. Betty, and I can address both of those issues again. Number one, we can develop or begin to develop, and I know Monetta could really help us with that along the Fillmore, but also there are other merchants associations. And I don't know if Richard Hashimoto is here. He's the president of the Japantown Merchants Association, and we have a lot of great merchants associations. And I just got back from China, and I got to tell you, hospitality is amazing. How they treat you when you walk through the door, hello, a smile, the greeting. I mean, that is how a business thrives. That basically is the difference between a customer returning or never going into a business again. So, Ms. Betty, I completely agree with you, and I'm happy to work with you and work with Monetta to try and figure out ways in which we can make sure that's implemented in our small businesses in the neighborhood, number one. And number two, I actually fought to maintain new classes for the police department. I know that over the years we've been short, I guess, a few hundred officers, and over the next 2 years, we will see an increase in police presence. It's not an overnight solution. The city for so long has not introduced new police academy classes. And so now that we have new officers coming online, over the next 2 years, you'll really see a difference with the increase in not only police officers on the street, but hopefully a lot more aggressive foot patrols, Captain. Thank you.
My name is Joanna Ward, and I'm a 30-year resident of District 5. And I'm wondering if there are going to be opportunities for small businesses that are principally working out of their homes now, but they'd like to go into some space that's available with an internet hookup and that kind of thing.
So I'm glad you asked that. Bob, remember when we were in Chicago and the Chicago Chamber of Commerce talked about this thing called 1961? Is that what it's called?
1872.
1872. Whatever, it was a number. So what the Chamber of Commerce did in Chicago, and this is, you know, this is the thing I want you to do here in San Francisco. What they did in Chicago is they basically took $250,000, invested it in a building, and really opened it up at a very reasonable price range to small businesses that were startup businesses, to work with entities to get them off the ground so that they can grow and thrive in a community. And so unfortunately we didn't get a chance to visit the location, but we talked about it, and this is something that I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the Chamber would consider investing in, because I think it could make the difference in the ability of someone who has an idea and they want to start up a company. I mean, and I know this is getting personal, but I have a hosiery lady who delivers my hosiery. She works out of her home. She's been selling hosiery to women in this community for many, many years. it'd be great to see someone like her open a business along the Fillmore corridor. It'd be great to see someone like her having access to getting support necessary to grow and to thrive. And so this is one of the things that I'm hoping that the Chamber will help me to achieve within the next couple of years. Fingers crossed. Okay.
Good morning, London. Matt McGrady, Executive Director of San Francisco Parks Alliance. And at the end of this month, we expect that you will be asked to vote on the park hours legislation that is currently pending before the Board of Supervisors. For those of you in the room who are following this proposed legislation, this would bring San Francisco into line with every other city, even close to our size in the country, in providing for hours where we would actually close our parks overnight. Believe it or not, San Francisco is the only city in the country that doesn't do that. This is designed to address a growing problem of vandalism that we have in the parks. The Parks Department is spending about $1 million a year repairing and making up for vandalism of graffiti, damage, etc. to our park system every year. It's a fairly simple, straightforward piece of legislation, but there's one specific aspect of this that I want to ask you about. At the moment, it's really sort of an intellectual exercise, but I think it's a useful one. To think about what would we do with that $1 million if we didn't have to spend it on vandalism. And so I'm going to ask you that question. Let's assume for the moment that you do decide to vote for it and it passes, and that has a significant positive impact on that cost savings. Where would you put that money, given the limitation? Of course, it has to stay with the parks.
And I would use it for park patrols. And we can push legislation all we want, but unless we have enforcement, then it's not going to make a difference from my perspective. And so I've talked to my captains about this legislation. I am concerned about, what this does in terms of the fact that we not only have certain park hours that already exist in some of our parks, but we have a lot of our officers investing a lot of time into enforcement because there are not enough park patrols to maintain and manage and deal with patrols throughout all of our park systems. So I think that if we're going to pass legislation that specifically goes to closing the parks, then we will need enforcement to address that particular issue. So I think the entire amount of money will need to go to enforcement because we have a lot of acreage of parks. And right now, I think I don't know the number, but we have a very limited number of park patrols. And
maybe it doesn't, but 5 years ago we had 2.
Yeah, and so we really need to step up the support around park patrol officers in order to make sure that we're keeping our parks clean and safe and thriving.
I can actually fill you in on that one piece. If you know about the number of park patrol officers that we actually have about 30 or so on payroll, but because a number of them are assigned to Candlestick Park, and because of shift rotations and so forth, at any one time we only have about 2 to 4 officers actually out on patrol.
We're tearing down Candlestick Park, so hopefully we can redirect some of those park patrols. Aren't we blowing it up next year? We're blowing it up next year.
And it's
$4 million of lost revenue to the department.
right.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Adrian Williams with the Village Project. It is good to see so many people out at 8:30 in the morning. In addition to taking care of the kids in the community, we have tried to work with the city to bring increased foot traffic along the Fillmore corridor by doing community events. And so my question is, what plans do you have as far as, and it seems as though we've been ignored. Even though we meet the criteria, we supersede the criteria as far as bringing in the foot traffic, becoming sustainable, having your own funding to match what the city can contribute, and yet we've been ignored. And so I'm wondering, what are your plans for investing in us as far as doing community events?
Thank you. And one of the challenges that we've had, I believe, in this particular neighborhood is that city resources have not been properly invested. Oftentimes they've been invested and there may be one-time events and then people walk away, they disappear from the neighborhood as they don't maintain a relationship with the neighborhood consistently. I know that just recently we had challenges with our Juneteenth Festival, which has to raise a significant amount of money, and in the past they received a lot of city funding, and that city funding went away. And so in order to make up the difference, they had to reach out to businesses. And I know the Chamber this year stepped up tremendously and helped to get a lot of their businesses to support the Juneteenth Festival. And I think part of what we have to do is develop those relationships between your organization and some of the businesses who have the ability to not only invest, but when they invest, it's a lot easier than dealing with city dollars, which are clearly challenging, the hoops you got to jump through in order to deal with the reimbursement and all the other stuff that comes with that. But what I'd like to do is to establish long-term relationships so that when you're doing your event like a senior moment, which I think you did about 2 weeks ago, this is what a business wants to invest in. Adrienne Williams has been out of her own pocket doing an event called a senior moment. And it involves all seniors who say they're seniors, they come in for free. There's music, there's food, the place was packed. It was right across the street at West Bay Conference Center. There's a facility rental fee, there's food fees, there's staff fees. This is money that she's paying out of her pocket, and to have maybe a company like Ripology or PG&E say, hey, we want to invest and we want to annually commit to supporting a senior moment, that's the kind of thing that I want to do as supervisor, and I'm committed to making happen for our district.
Just to piggyback, when the different venues come into, excuse me, just to piggyback on what she's saying, when the different investment of communities and you come into our community and you want to, put your shops up, and when we want to do something, we go to your establishment and say, sir, this is blah, 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 and we would like you to please contribute to it. No, that's what we get. That's what we get in our community. I don't believe in it. Well, what are you doing here? Okay? You should be able to, if you're in our community, you want to put your shops up, you want to make our money, then you should contribute to the cause. You don't have to like it, so we understand that, but you need to contribute.
Thank you, Ms. Betty. Okay, so we got Steve Nakajo.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. Thank you very much, Jim, Chamber. This opportunity for us to gather together this morning. The fact that you're our supervisor and you're hosting, and the folks that are here, both community-wide and also in terms of business, is very important. Richard Hashimoto's back there, President of the Merchants Association, happens also to be the chairperson, yes, of Japantown, and also happens to be the Cherry Blossom chairperson as well. Richard, why don't you come mosey over here so folks can look at you? Because you're a magnificent looking dude anyway. But this is Richard Hashimoto, President of the Merchants Association, President, Chair of the Cherry Blossom Festival. Also happens to be the Operation Director of Japan Center Garage. What we're trying to say is at one point or another, we always talk about that we were one whole community. That means us in J-Town, here in the Fillmore, Western Addition, District 5, they call it now. What's happening with the Geary Corridor, with the BRT, with that, we're talking about, there's some discussion in terminology of unifying the community. Well, it's been a long time since we've been unified, so we all understand that we are a new identification of community based on history and preservation, but we got to move forward. So Supervisor and Chamber, we're looking for steps by which we can positively start to move forward. The Cherry Blossom Festival is real important. Everybody kind of spills over to somebody else, and I think this whole total discussion became how important and beautiful and magnificent this Western Addition, Fillmore, Upper Fillmore neighborhood, Hayes Valley is. So it's about neighborhoods. So Supervisor, I just wanted to stress that Japantown, through our efforts, are very, very eager to participate with y'all. Thank you, Jim, so much for putting us together.
One last question.
Hi, my name is Durf Butler, Butler Enterprise. Supervisor, thank you so much for having this. This has been a long time in waiting in the chamber. Thank you very much for coming and participating. When I'm listening to the meeting, I'm trying to figure out some solutions or some things that we can add that will help this meeting go from one step to the next. And I'm wondering, do the Chamber of Commerce currently have a mentor kind of protege program, whereas some of the startup businesses in the area, some of the businesses already exist, might need to be partnered up, like a small retail company might be able to partner up with a larger retail company in a mentor kind of relationship that might be able to really create some added value. And I'll wait for the chamber president to answer that question. I have several others. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No problem.
No, not at all. I appreciate that. We're always looking for where we can add value. I think that relevance in today's world, even though we're a 160-year-old organization, we're the only organization that's about all business. It doesn't matter what size, shape, sexual orientation, race, it doesn't really matter to us. And so we want to be inclusive with that moniker. We also want to be a problem solver and be a convener. And Supervisor Breed mentioned a couple of issues where we've worked together to find solutions. I'd love to have an opportunity to talk with you about what this represents to you. We talk a lot about startups. Startups mean a lot of different things to different people. They all have different needs. San Francisco is blessed to be a vibrant community that's ever changing. And so we want to change along with it. Our members require it. So let's engage each other in the dialogue.
Okay. I have just a follow-up, if that's okay. That's okay. Wonderful. Secondly, we're a small corridor right now. We have 1,300 in Gussie's and West Bay Conference Center and Yoshi's as far as facilities, and there's some others down the strip to be able to host various events. I think what the supervisor said earlier will be very critical, maybe to talk with your membership and to see if we can get a 10% increase in activity as far as events. These are great facilities. It's a great area to market with. It's a great first step. You have a large membership. They do all kinds of parties, we know, from just staff building and development to corporate Christmas parties and what have you. So I think if we can use that as a step and an actual deliverable or a milestone that we can work on and follow through with that, and these businesses can see the increase, that's us moving forward collectively as a total community. And so, and then lastly, working with the NAP, we would love to be able to talk. The NAP, the Western Addition Neighborhood Access Point, is basically our community job center. And the reality is this center is bustling. There's a lot of people in the community, very diverse group of individuals that come through from experience levels all the way down to just shipping and receiving, all the way to experience levels where people have tech experience. And so you have a wealth of folks that are coming through the NAP that are looking for opportunities with the businesses, with the chamber, and we'd love to continue to partner with you and expand on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to follow up on one point. As you develop a merchants association here, it's going to be much easier to partner with us and convene with other organizations. Where we have established merchants associations, Chamber's 1,500 members, most of them are small businesses throughout the city. But as you said, we also have the larger businesses at the table of the chamber. And we can bring those folks when, for instance, at Geary Merchants, we're involved with a number of organizations on the Better Streets program because Geary, like many streets, are targeted in the mayor's office for street improvement projects and economic development. We're at the table because that merchants group is active with the chamber. And as your merchants groups develop here, we can do the same thing. So,
thank you.
And let me just add, before we wrap it up, I know some of you are familiar with the Western Addition One-Stop Center, which has changed the name to some neighborhood access point. I mean, I can't keep track, but they're located right in that Webster Street corridor. What's the address, Dirk?
Johnny, the address?
1449 Webster Street.
Okay, so, but it's very complicated because it's not directly on Webster, but it kind of is. But a friend of mine who didn't have a job went to the One-Stop or Neighborhood Access Point. Laundry Locker. Any of you familiar with Laundry Locker? So Laundry Locker used this particular access point to recruit people, to hire people. He actually got a job with Laundry Locker as a result, and now he's like this major manager of laundry, setting up laundry lockers all over the Bay Area. I mean, he set them up in Millennium Towers on Haight Street and Soma and all kinds of places. I mean, this is basically now his career, it's his thing. And my point is that any of your businesses, as I said before, if you're looking for people this is what this place is for. But also if you're looking for a job, this is what this place is for. The goal is to connect the right people to the right career opportunity, because some people can wait tables and some people can host. Some people can do HR related work, but we want to ultimately find the right place for people, because we want them to maintain these employment opportunities. And also we want to develop a way to provide temporary support as well in terms of employment opportunities. So we want to work together, and I think any of the businesses here, it'd be great to connect with Durf or connect with Cheryl on making sure that you have access to them and you're developing that relationship, because I think you could get a lot of incredible employees out of this particular relationship. Number two, merchants associations. I know we have a lot of great merchants associations throughout our district, but if you're having trouble with accessing your merchants association, or you need support from our office to make that connection, or if you need support in helping to develop the merchant association in your area, then our office can help facilitate that process. I know Moneta now is an expert at developing a merchants association, and that's the first step for the Fillmore in particular, but I'm happy to connect you with some of the more established corridors which have active merchants associations as well, because together we can get a lot of great things done for the area where your business is, but without, I believe, a merchant association, it makes it that much more challenging to do so. So I'm going to let, unless there's any business with a pressing, okay, no one pressing. Again, I want you all to just, we don't have time to basically introduce everybody, but I really want you, after Jim is done with his remarks, I want you to spend time, of course I'll be here, but spend time talking to one another, developing relationships with one another. We have some incredible businesses here, some incredible people, and I just really want us to make sure that although this is the first time, it's not the last time that we continue to get together, and the next time could be a more focused topic. So if there's something specifically you want to talk about or address as it relates to small businesses, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to come to your merchants associations and talk to your small business specifically about your area and how we can make improvements to your area. And then finally, some important tips. Number one, it is really important to develop a relationship with your neighborhood police captain. We have some incredible officers and incredible captains in our district that are very responsive. It is a challenge to cover as much of the territory as they're covering, and but ultimately, you know, if you really need their support, it's great to have a relationship with them in order to make sure that they're actively aware of what's going on or what some of the challenges are in your area. And number two, if you have problems or issues, there's trash, there's dumping, there's just general city stuff, 311 is your best friend. When I see mattresses on the corner, there's even an app for it. You can take a picture, send it to 311. They're supposed to pick it up or deal with the particular situation, whether it's graffiti, whether it's debris, whether it's challenges. They can forward you to the right person. I actually helped somebody into an emergency shelter situation using 311 a couple of years ago. It's a great resource to try and get things done for the neighborhood. So I just wanted to mention that. I always try to mention that as a tool to make phone calls to the city to try and figure out what direction you need to go in. And of course our office is available, but let me be clear, we do have over 70,000 constituents. We do what we can to try and be active in addressing those concerns. It is definitely a challenge, but we are here for you, and we just ask for patience. In the day of technology, everyone expects an answer instantly on Twitter or overnight from an email, but we'll do what we can, and if you don't hear from us, then just follow up with us, and we're happy to make sure that we try and address your concerns in a timely manner. Two of my aides are here, Valley Brown. Many of you know Valley. She's been here forever. She worked for other supervisors in the past, but I'm her favorite. And Connor Johnson here, so he's here, and Lauren is in the office. She helped with the coordination of this, and so again, I just want to say thank you all so much for being here. I'll be here afterwards to talk to some of you and address any of your questions or concerns. And now I'm going to turn the mic over to Jim.
Supervisor, thank you very much. A round of applause. Thank you. This is clearly one of the best neighborhood merchants group that we've had because of the cooperation and participation of you and your office, and we appreciate that. And to thank all the, and I'm not going to go through it all because some of you have had a chance to go to these tables, but PG&E, Recology, city departments that are here, the neighborhood job development tables. This is going to be available for the next half an hour, so please go around and introduce yourselves. We certainly thank 1300 on Fillmore. There's still a little breakfast and coffee left, so feel free to stay and network, and thank you very much for a great morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.